All right, so I know there's a bunch of videos online showing how to make these jaw jackers. So I just kind of wanted to give you some of the dimensions and maybe a little bit better look at the trigger on these, and just show you what I came up with, and give you a good idea of some starting numbers. So first of all, let's see. The overall length of this board here is 20 3/4. The length of the rod I have it in overall, it is 23.5 to the bottom of the handle. And the eyelet here, I have it at 3/4 of an inch from the edge on center. The width of this is 6 inches. And this PVC tube I have is 6.5 inches long. Now, basically the idea of this trigger is you have this small end will lock into, let me get the line through. This end here is going to hold the eyelet, and that keeps the rod bent. So one of the biggest things is, how high up do you make this? How long do you make this tab? What angle does this thing have to be at? And I'm going to try to show you what I have here. And again, it's just a piece of coat hanger, so you can always mess around with it on your own. But just to show you how this works, you have your line coming through. And this hook here, and all that's doing is just keeping the line from sliding out. And you want to have the line sitting down into the hole like this. So as the line pulls down, it's going to pull this whole assembly forward and slide out of there. And that's going to set the hook. So, obviously, you go, you get a fish. I mean, stiffer rod like this, it's going to have some nice spring, and that's going to set the hook. So, you got the basic dimensions here for your board and the rod holder, and I think this is 1.5 inch PVC tubing. And so I think the best way to do it is kind of cut that on a 45, stick your rod in there, and just make sure you got enough clearance for your reel. And then I would leave, I mean, you could do this out of a 2x6 or anything. This is just a piece of plastic I had. And just take your rod and kind of bend it down. And just see, where it looks like you got a nice bend. Make a scribe, and then just cut that length of wood. So that's kind of how you figure out your length for your rod. But again, those are kind of my dimensions there. Now, as far as this goes, don't be too scared of it. There's not a lot going on here. So this part, I found, is about 1/4 of an inch long, and for me that seems pretty good. I mean, you want it to have enough to hold it in there, but you want to make sure that you're gonna have it's gonna also be able to come out. So I found 1/4 of an inch for this part right here, lengthwise. Was a good distance. And then depending on how much bend you have in your rod, is going to determine the height of this. I'm at almost 2 inches. And then for the actual length of the trigger, looking about 3 inches. And then, I mean, this little loop here, it's just got to hold the line, so it's, I'll say about 1/2 inch. So you got 1/2 inch purchase here for the line to sit on. Going down about 3 inches. And then the overall height of this, we're looking at about 2 1/4 inch on this tail here. And that's what I got set up. And I mean, you can mess around with different stuff, but I feel like it's kind of hard to find a lot of good views of this trigger and the lengths on it. And I feel like people just kind of went quick. So, I mean, that pretty much just comes straight out. And then, like I said, just a little bit of a hook, just to keep the line from sliding out. And you're going to have to mess around with it. But that's what that looks like. And then, like I said, just a little loop here, touching. And then just come up to about, not a little less than 90. And again, this is what's going to make it, the length of this and the angle of that are going to be your sensitivity. And I haven't measured to see what this is, but it's not much. So that's kind of a close-up of it with a jaw jacker. And like I said, you can make it out of anything. This is a coat hanger. Just kind of sits there, board. And then 1.5 inch PVC, just 3 screw holes in the bottom. Cut it down to 45-ish. And then, like I said, I would suggest putting this in first. And, if you're using like a 2x6, keep it longer. And then you kind of just bend your rod down and and you can kind of figure out where you want to put it, you know, as far, and then that can tell you your height of, you know, how high your trigger needs to be, and how long your board needs to be. But, all right, hope this helps someone.